Hello, wherever you are in the Jiu-Jitsu world. Welcome to the Kyuzo Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu Podcast. This is Barry speaking to you here from Kyuzo HQ, here in our beautiful, luxurious studios. As I gaze out our window here at the peacocks on the lawn and the hanging gardens, our gardeners out there tending to the lawns and trimming the rose bushes. And these luxurious surroundings of ours. This is an episode for our audience who have suggested questions on how to coach kids and on children's coaching. This is a Q&A episode. So we put out a question, which we often do. We put a question box on at Kyuzo Jiu-Jitsu and on at Grapplerman. Your opportunity to ask the questions that we're going to deal with here in the episode. So if you haven't done that already, keep an eye, follow us on social media, and there'll be an opportunity to do that. Subscribe to this video, do all that kind of stuff. That really, really helps us, and it helps us spread the word, helps us, pushes us, I think, a little bit up the old algorithm ladder, and it gives us an opportunity for us to spread a bit more of a positive message about jiu-jitsu. There's a lot of negative bullshit out there that goes around. A lot of people talking a lot of crap. So this is an attempt of sorts to try and redress that. That's what we always think about this podcast as. Tips the scales on the positive side a little bit. That being said, of course, we have to deal with some topics that are not always 100% positive, and this might be one of them actually today, believe it or not, because there's a lot of divergent opinions about kids coaching and how to coach. A lot of academic debate and a lot of stuff around the social elements and the moral and ethical elements of coaching kids and being a sports parent or a martial arts parent. And we might get into a couple of those today. In fact, we definitely will. So I've condensed a few of the questions down into just about 5 topics here that we have. Other than that, we go over the same ground quite a lot because a lot of people do ask very, very similar questions. So if this isn't exactly your question today, it might be a part of it. So you might have had a job creating the hybrid. So let's start first of all. One was really simple, and the first one we had today was been thinking about opening a club for kids in my area. So if I had any advice on that front, my first piece of advice is definitely do it. Let's go. We need more kids clubs, and we need more clubs that are focusing on kids training. Every sport should look like a pyramid. So with the thousands of kids at the bottom and then the elite level right at the very top, and the various age groups through the rest of the structure. Ours is a little bit more like a skyscraper, isn't it? Which just about the same amount of kids training as adults. So we need more people to be focusing on kids, more people to dedicate their time to children. It's tremendously satisfying. It's great. I love it. I love working with kids. It's just one of the things, in fact, the reason that I got into coaching in the first place was to work with children. I enjoyed it a lot. And of course I get to coach my own kids as well, which is another... it's a mixed bag, to be honest, but it is a very satisfying thing to do when you see them develop and when you see them get on well. I enjoy it. I enjoy all of that. So definitely do it. If you need any further advice, do get in touch personally. I'd be really happy to lend a hand. And in fact, that goes for anybody who's sitting there watching now. If they want to know anything about kids coaching, it is something that we do really well here at Kyuzo. We've a couple of hundred kids here, and we've got different age streams. We've got different levels here operating, from kids who are going to European championships down to kids who are just really, to be brutally honest, struggling to put one foot in front of the other. And we work with them all. We try to give everybody something and the benefits of the martial arts, regardless of their abilities, regardless of their age category. Look, it's so satisfying. Maybe it's the thing. So maybe we'll get all philosophical. God, we're only 5 minutes in. I'm going to get all philosophical in it. When I'm going to look back, I think, at my career of coaching, I think that being a kids coach might be the thing that I say, oh, I did that. That was a good thing that I did. I'm already starting to think that way. So here we go. Look, get in touch if you need any more advice. I'd be very, very happy to give it. The second question we got in, how to deal with the inevitable ego of the superstar kid. Now that's a funny one. because first of all, I think, well, we all have an ego, don't we? And initially when I read it, I actually said to myself, well, hold on, that's not inevitable. But actually, ego, if we all have ego, we all, and especially as a young kid growing up, if he suddenly starts to get good at something, you can imagine him developing a kind of a bit of a cocky walk, and starting to fancy himself. There was a great expression, one of my favourite expressions, was one of my grandmother's, which I think is an old Dublin phrase, which is when a kid gets to being a teenager, you know, and he starts to kind of dress up a little bit, shower a little more, and put on a bit more Lynx Africa. The expression is he's starting to smell himself, and I like that. So when a kid is starting to smell himself in jiu-jitsu, how to deal with that? Well, I think the first thing is that it depends on there's definitely training ways of dealing with that. So if a child is getting particularly good, and probably exceeding the skill level of his peers, you can constrain him in some way. And of course, there's lots of stuff in constraints-led training. So, you know, you can take him aside and say, well done, you're doing great. But now I want you to focus just on this week on all of your escapes, and so that we can make you better. And the other thing is that, of course, they're only the good kid in that room, in that specific room. So that might be something where, you know, you push them towards, you know, competing internationally, depending on the age group, of course, and depending on whether the kid wants to do it and the parents want to do it. You might push them towards that, push them towards larger competitions or other training rooms, you know, bringing them around the place, if that's your goal and that's your focus. And the other thing, the last thing, which a lot of people won't do or don't think it's a good thing to do, is that if your club or your academy isn't set up for them, then it might be a thing where you just say to the parents and say, look, if he wants to improve, he probably can't train here anymore. You know, it's probably not a good fit for us. Which I don't think there's any harm in that, in letting a kid go. I don't know if we've done it much here, but certainly with MMA, I've definitely done it. Where I've said, look, this is when we did coach MMA here. If a kid had not necessarily the skill level, but had the ambition to do something else, and it was very obvious to me that we weren't ever going to match that ambition, or we weren't ever going to match that attitude, I would say more than anything, that we would say, look, you know, this might not be a fit. So that's perfectly fine. It's perfectly okay. I don't think there's any harm in that, in essentially just accepting that your attitude towards coaching or your atmosphere that you want to keep in the club. Because if there is, there's another expression, which is kicky calf, kicky cow. So, like, if there is a parental thing there where the parent believes that the child should be getting better coaching and that you're not up to the mark, or that the atmosphere isn't up to the mark, that the kids aren't good enough, you know, to improve him, which again is something else that can happen, then at that stage that you say to the parent, well, look, obviously I'm not enough for you here. We're never going to change. So good luck to you. And that is definitely something that I have done in the past. I've addressed the parent and I've said, look, obviously you're not happy here and you're not happy with your kid here. So I don't know why we're still sticking around. That being said, I don't think that, you know, like I said at the start of your question, when you used the word inevitable, I thought initially, God, well, it's not inevitable, but yeah, you know, some degree of when a kid is improving much more rapidly than their peers, yeah, he could be forgiven for smelling himself. So at that stage, or herself, by the way, at that stage, yeah, if you can't, at that stage, you know, constrain them in training or use, you know, appeal to themselves as, look, you know, you're definitely much better than the other kids here, but you need to not have an ego about it, and you need to make sure that you're sensible and nice. And if you have the support from the parents in that regard as well, well, then there's no reason why you can't co-opt that and use it perhaps in your classes, and use them as an example for other kids as well, and without letting that ego take over and take hold. Yeah, or like I said, just say maybe it's time to move on. Maybe it's time we separated and went our separate ways. Okay. Third question, I've got a few questions on this, which is, I'm going to have a sip of coffee before. Sorry, excuse me. How to keep class fun. And I got a couple of questions on this. So they're all in different ways. One was like how to make it fun for kids, for young kids. And the other one was how to continue to keep it fun for as kids get older. So I've kind of amalgamated them here. I'll tell you the first one. The first one is so easy. The youngest kids we have here are 4 years of age, 4, 5 and 6, and all they do is play. So grappling is play, wrestling is play. So I will give you the simplest game in the world, and if you can't make this fun, well then I don't know what to do with you. Here's a really simple game. First takedown. That's it. That's all you got to do. So you two, out you go, 2 4-year-olds. Your job is to get him on his bum, make him sit down or make him lie on his back, and go. Now, don't say, okay, try to use the single leg or the double leg, because your chances of doing that with 2 4-year-olds are 0. So at that age, really, you're just introducing contact, you're introducing fun and play, you're introducing it as a game. You're saying that this is jiu-jitsu. We don't have to create crazy rules, we don't have to mess, we don't have to joke. In jiu-jitsu, we can just wrestle each other, and it's good crack, it's good fun. And actually, if you think about what you love about jiu-jitsu, I bet it's just sparring. I bet it's sparring. Nobody loves positionals. Most people just love sparring. Just open sparring, just go and see what happens. First takedown. You try to get him down first. You get him down first. He gets you down first. Stand back up again and start again. Off you go. They will have great crack doing that. Great fun. Then you can introduce a little bit of something like, okay, can you do it by just grabbing one of his legs? Bingo, you're teaching single leg already. And I guarantee you, whatever you teach, if you sit them down and you went beat by beat through how to do a proper and correct and technically perfect single leg, or you say to them, grab one leg and see if you can take him down, I guarantee you when you go live, they will both look the exact same. There's a few bits that you can do. For example, if you're teaching the inside single, these are all things you can just come up with yourself, right? But I'll just give you an example. If we're teaching the inside single, we do this. So this is one of my little drills that I do. I say, okay, your first job is you have to hold his leg off the ground for 3 seconds. Anybody who holds the leg off the ground, picks the leg up and holds it off the ground for 3 seconds without taking the kid down, is the winner. So if you pick up the leg, 1, 2, 3, there's a problem. He has a button that controls his leg, and his button is his belt buckle. So you have to put your ear and push the button to lift his leg. So beep, you have to push the button with your ear and lift the leg up at the same time, hold it for 3 seconds and you win. And bingo, they've just done inside single. And that's loads of fun. And then you can turn around and you can call it an animal game. You can give it a superhero, their favorite superhero. You can give it whatever it is they watch on TV. You can give it a Blue's Clues thing or whatever. I don't know. I don't care. As long as you introduce it as a fun game, it doesn't matter what it is, they'll do it. We do lots of animal walks. We do lots of things for coordination and balance as well, where they're doing impressions of animals. So it's bear crawl, it's Spider-Man walk, it's baby crawl, it's horse and jockey. Lots of fun stuff. There is no way you can miss with young kids as long as you are the most fun person in the room. With older kids, it is the exact same. So I'll have teenagers here on Saturday morning for a no-gi session. And one of the first things that we will do is we will play a game. We'll play a game of dodgeball. We'll play a game of wolves and sheep, or a wolf game as we call it, where they're crawling around to try and tag everybody. And they will love it. And in fact, one of the things that I think really affects teenagers is that it gets too serious too quick. You've got 3 or 4 kids in the class who will really love that, and they want to be like a superstar, and they want to like learn more technique, and they're watching YouTube and watching instructionals, and they want to do more stuff. 2 or 3 in a class of 20, and the other kids are there to enjoy themselves, learn a little bit. But actually, all of them will love playing, messing around, and playing it as a game. And if you can turn around and say, yeah, but like dodgeball isn't jiu-jitsu, like they're there to train jiu-jitsu, it's like, mate, you do not get the point. The goal here is the long game. The long game is that you keep them for as long as possible. And there's going to be plenty of times where a especially a kid who isn't great at jiu-jitsu right now, is feeling really discouraged and really kind of meh about the whole thing and could walk away at any second. So, especially in the teenage years. So you have a job, and that's to keep them in the sport at all costs. So it doesn't matter that they're not doing spider guard that day or lasso sweeps that day. What matters is that they came in, they met their friends, they enjoyed themselves, they learned a little bit of jiu-jitsu, and they went home, because we're trying to build cumulatively. If they came 3 times that week because they played dodgeball at the start and they had fun with their friends at the start, it's much better than them coming once that week and learning that great lasso sweep that you wanted to teach them, but not coming the other 2 times because they just didn't enjoy it as much as they wanted to. So there's a great expression which, I've forgotten the name of the guy who talks about kids coaching, and one of the reasons that kids quit in their teens is, in his opinion, is that it stops serving their needs. That's the quote, the actual quote. It stops serving their needs. So their needs, for some of them are, I need to be winning the Irish Open next year, or going to the European Championships next year, or the World Championships next year. For some, for a very small minority. The vast majority, particularly those who are under threat of quitting, their needs are multifaceted. They want to come in, they want to learn a little bit, they want to enjoy themselves, they want to meet their friends, they want to communicate with you, the coach, because that's part of their life. If you're in their life, you're a part of it, you're one of their influences. And ultimately, they want to feel good about themselves. And if you're coming in and you're teaching really complex skills and the training is gross, it's just not enjoyable, well, then they're going to quit. They're going to go. And that's what's happening a lot with kids of all age categories, really, but mainly in the teen area, which is what we're really trying to deal with here, is they ultimately, it stops serving their needs. It stops being an enjoyable thing to come to. And instead, it piles on pressure at the same time as they're in secondary school, when there's pressure from exams, and they walk down the street and there's pressure to dress right, have the right photos on their Instagram account or on their TikTok. All of these kind of things are piling on at the same time. So instead of piling on more, just let up a little bit. Release some of the pressure. Let them have a good time. Play some dodgeball, and don't be so judgmental about, and worrying all the time about, are we doing the exact right thing that the coaching manual says I should be doing? Well, forget about it. You've got another job, and it's probably much more important on a societal level as well. And it's definitely much more important for them that they're involved, remain involved, get the hell out of their bedroom, get off the couch, and, being among you and your peers and the older guys in the room and the younger kids in the room, and that they're involved in your club and your academy. Don't sweat it. Don't worry about it. Let the other kid who's off pulling off the incredible Bernbolos, in competition. That's fine. Leave him off. That's not this kid. You've got another job. Okay. Well, this is I guess a little bit related. What should I do when my kid wants to quit? So this is very age dependent, isn't it? So if your kid wants to quit at 13, 14, 15, it's really difficult, isn't it? And I can tell you, as a parent of, well, I was going to say 2 teenagers. One's not a teenager anymore. Of a grown man and a teenager. There has been times, of course, when there's been when they wanted to quit jiu-jitsu. And in fact, one of mine did quit jiu-jitsu and he's back. So they come and they go. So I would say, let's start with the older group, which is the teens. We just touched on it there a little bit regarding the pressures of teenage life and of young adult life. Exams, girlfriends, peers, boyfriends, fashion, I don't know what else. All of the stuff that comes with growing up, which I would hate to do again. For the love of God, I would never go back to being a teenager. If I had a time machine, I wouldn't do it. And if I did do it, I'd probably just go back and make all the same mistakes again anyway. So it's a hard time. And of course, you've probably seen all of the advertisements which are particularly related to girls and how many girls quit sport. And I don't have the specific answer for that. But I can speak in general about teens and how we deal with it here. So the only thing I can do is give you my method, or our method. The number one thing I think you have to do is leave the door open. So you can say, look, if you want to take a break, from training, let's do 4 weeks. Let's do a month off, see how you feel, but then guarantee me you'll come back and do another month at that stage. So you can quit for a month now if you really, really want to. But I want you to guarantee me, and we'll make a deal, we'll put it down in a contract and we'll write it down, that in 1 month you'll come back and you'll do another month. And if at the end of that month you still want to quit, okay, we'll quit. We'll go do something else. But you can't just stop and do nothing. So you can't just quit and say, I might come back. So you can take 4 weeks off now, refresh, then you can come back in, do another 4 weeks, and then at the end of that, if you want to quit then you can go. And the reason I say that is a lot of times it's very impulsive. It's a lot of times they don't really realise what they're doing and they're like, oh, okay, I want to quit, but it's for another reasons. They're just exhausted, they're tired, and they're coming up and they're not really enjoying it anymore. And sometimes, having a rest and having a break from it, especially if they've been doing it for a long, long time, since they were maybe small children, they can, a break is a good thing. And like I say, all those other pressures as well, maybe it just gives them an opportunity to take an evening off. Maybe they miss it. Maybe they miss their friends and their friendships there. Maybe they miss their coach. And when they come back, they're glad to see them again. So it can be like a holiday. That's one method. The other one is that if they really are going to go, and especially around exam time, and this is a big one for us, so when fifth year in particular kicks in, a lot of the kids turn to us and say, look, I'm not really sure I can manage it. There's a lot more study. There's a lot more going on. I've also got football. I've also got music, and I just feel like it's a bit full for me at the moment. What we do is we just say the door is always open. So we really leave a gap for them to return, and you'd be really surprised how many kids come back because of that. So the worst thing I think you can ever say to a young fella or a young one who's quitting and wants to walk away is, but you're going to miss this, and the other guys will have moved on, and you're so close to getting your blue belt, you're almost there, and now you're saying to them, well, when you come back you're going to be behind. Do you know what I mean? But jiu-jitsu is brilliant for this one thing, which is the team doesn't move on. They're not moving up to another level. They're not going to a new division. They're not, nothing like that is happening. So they're not going to come back and not get their game at the weekend. So they can drop in and drop out. And we say that to the parents, and we say that to the young fellas and the young ones when they stop as well, which is, look, if you want to go, we'll really miss you here. You're an important part of what we do. But if you want to come back at any time, you remember where I am. We're not going anywhere. Just remember my number and just come back up. And you'll be welcome. And you can drop in and drop out. And if you feel like you could come back for a couple of months during the summer, come back in for a couple of months during the summer, and sure, then go off and study again, and then come back in the next summer. That's fine. That's grand. It's not like, you're not joining a motorbike gang. It's not a cult. Well, some clubs are cults, but not this one. And you can drop in and drop out and make it really easy. So make the transition from stopping back to going again, and from going now to stopping. Make it easy. Don't make them feel guilty. I had a young fella come up to me there. He's a great kid, 17, stopping. And there were tears in his eyes when he was telling me that he was stopping for sixth year. He was going to study, he said, look, my leaving cert coming up and I got football. And he was welling up, and I had to say, hey, stop. It's okay. Don't worry. You're not going to, you're not breaking my heart here. It's fine. Don't worry about it. You can come back anytime. And even if there's a Saturday you can make it and you want to come up and see everybody and hang out and just do a little training, don't sweat it. Just come up. Just rock up, and we can train a little bit, we can chat, and then you can feck off again then at that stage. So I think a lot of times it's seen as another pressure. It's seen as another thing that I have to do for a young fella, and it's like I'm in, and I'm like, I have to do this, and I've been doing it for so long, and now Just make it easier, make it much, much easier, and make it a sort of an easy transition from both. So in and out. Okay, so we're going to deal with our last question. Oh no, sorry. First I wanted to go on with the younger kids. What to do when your kid wants to quit if they're younger? Well, just don't let them. Like, it's simple. If you value it as a skill, and like if you value it as self-defense, if they wanted to quit swimming tomorrow, say, I don't want to swim anymore. Before they learned how to swim, you go, no, you're learning how to swim. I think this is one of the crucial things that, we've kind of forgotten maybe a little bit, is that you're kind of in charge of your kid. You don't have to do what he tells you. It's just if you want to quit, okay, well, you can't. Get up there. This is part of one of your life skills that I want to teach you, and martial arts is giving you a lot. And you'll thank me when I'm gone. Well, when I'm gone. God, I'm speaking very morbidly there, but like, you'll thank me when you're older is what I meant to say. You'll thank me when you're older, and when you're able to look after yourself, and you've got that confidence. You'll thank me. You're not going to thank me now. You're going to hate me because I'm pulling you away from the TV and I'm pulling you away from your friends, maybe when they're out playing. But in a few years' time, you'll thank me because guess what? I'm in charge and I know what's best for you. And one of the things that's best for you is that you learn how to defend yourself. You hang out with your mates. You learn all the skills and the coordination and all of those things that you get from Jiu-Jitsu. I'm in charge. You're going to Jiu-Jitsu. Now, get in the car. Simple. I'm not Adolf Hitler at home or anything like that. I like to think I'm a very nice parent, but when my daughter doesn't want to go to training, I say, get in the car. You're going. That's it. No choice. And she goes. It seems to be normal, and she loves it when she's here. So there's always times, of course, when they're tired and they've had a rough day at school, and the long days and the long weekend or whatever it is, they didn't sleep well the last night, and okay, get in the car. I don't know why this is an alien thing to some people, but I know other people's parenting styles are a little bit different. But I had somebody turn around to me the weekend, not the other day, and say, I can't motivate. They were talking about like an 8 or 9 year old. I can't motivate them to go. I was like, what's this motivation shit? Just chuck them in the car. Go. You're going. Tell them they're going. You're literally in control of their future. It's like, you can do whatever you want. You are their parent. You're not beating them into the car, right? You're just going to say, get in the car. All right. Okay, I don't want to get in the car. Well, if you don't get in the car, you're going to get a punishment. You're not going to get your TV for the next couple of hours, or you're going to, have to clean your room, or you're going to, I don't know, what else do parents do? Alien to me. It's totally alien to me. I have no concept of that. I'm sorry. And again, I don't want to come across as like parent of the year and like that. I'm certainly not. But like, that concept of letting them kind of lead where they're going, it's like, I'm a grown man. I know what's best for you. I'm your dad. So get in the car. We're going training. Simple as that. A little more complex when they're older, as I was saying, but when they're more in charge of their own decisions, and they can understand a little bit more the long-term effects of what they're doing. But they don't understand the long-term effects of what they're doing when they're quitting. So it's up to you to understand for them. I don't know why that's an alien thing. Okay, final question today. Nice one to sum up on. What do I think of parent-run Instagram accounts for Jiu-Jitsu kids? Let's just stop the Jiu-Jitsu kids part. What do I think of parent-run Instagram accounts? Aren't they a bit weird? Do you not find them weird? So there's some interesting stuff about child labour laws, more or less, being kind of reactivated with regards to child influencers online. I don't know if you've seen that, but basically this is where parents are essentially using their kids to hawk all sorts of stuff, clothing or whatever, and get sponsorships. And it's like, it strikes me like it's like Macaulay Culkin's parents or something. It's really unusual, really weird. For me, my kids aren't on social media with me. Like, I don't include them on anything. The occasional photo goes up from a jiu-jitsu tournament or something like that, but my private life and my children's privacy is something that I respect quite a lot. And I have to respect the idea that in the future they're going to be adults, and the last thing they might want is for people to know them and know who they are, and to have known their every movement since they were a tiny kid. I think that's really unusual and really strange. I think that's not something that should be taken for granted. Your privacy and your ability to have a private life and a life that, nobody else knows about. Unusual, isn't it? But to the specific question, though, I think we were talking earlier about pressures, and I wonder, are we just when we're giving these kids not necessarily giving them Instagram, but even running Instagram as parents, are we not just saying here's an additional pressure on top of things? So here's your life, and here's you growing up, and all of that nonsense that goes along with it, and here's everybody looking at you now as you're doing it. And one of the things that I always say about Instagram and social media, which I try to discourage when I'm talking to the adults, this is like the grown-ups in the room, I try to discourage them from putting too much about the tournaments that they're going to or the training that they're doing for a specific event up. I'm saying, look, it might help you in some way. I don't know whether it will or not, but if you ever want to kind of stop that, then it's almost like an additional pressure. Well, you said you were going to do this, but now you didn't do it. And you've shown it to 1,000 people where you've said I'm going to this tournament at the end of this year. And then you get injured and you got to tell these 1,000 people that you're injured versus telling, just your coach and your teammates and your boyfriend. And that's it. Oh, look, I'm also getting injured. I won't be able to get there this weekend. There's an additional pressure, a social pressure on top of that. That's hard to quantify. I certainly feel it. So your child will definitely feel it. But it's really unusual. So one of the things that's interesting about this, not to go too deep into the I guess the social status of it and the social psychology of it all, but childhood has really only been around for about 150 years. Up to that point, if you were a child, you were only a child insofar as you were useless. So if you were a baby and an infant and a toddler, then you were, then at that stage, that was essentially childhood. But the moment you could do something and you became useful, then you became useful around the house, you became useful on the farm, or you became useful in the factory. And, that's why we had chimney sweeps and kids working in factories, and it still happens in certain parts of the world. And then at one stage, we decided no, in Western society in particular, and in modern society, we decided no, that's not right. We need to have a childhood, this thing called childhood, which allows the kid to develop, doesn't overwork them, doesn't overstrain them, doesn't put them at risk of, adult style diseases by the time they're 15 or 16, doesn't give them the black lung from climbing up chimneys. We need to protect kids, and we need to look after them and make sure that they're not exposed to the pressures of adult life, and that we can allow them to develop into, fully formed human beings that they're going to do, and give them play and fun and childhood and all those kind of ways. And doesn't it seem funny that we're going backwards on that? That we're almost rowing that back. We're saying, no, let's get these kids into football academies at 7, and let's get them into athletics for their athletic career at 4. And, let's give them an Instagram account to make them more professional looking. And I think it's quite unusual. I think it's really weird. I think it's, to be honest, it makes me really, really uncomfortable looking at it. It's not something I would ever do to a kid. It's not something I would ever do I would ever recommend any of our kids here have. I don't know. To my knowledge, none of them do. I think any Instagram accounts that are in evidence among our youth athletes here are the kids themselves at age 14 or 15. But I don't know if that actually happens here. I don't think it does. But I do see it around. It's when I was over in the European Championships last year, I was speaking to a few parents from the United States in particular, and it was like speaking to some parents from a beauty pageant. That's what it struck me as. It was like those kind of parents, and I was really uncomfortable having the conversations. Of course, I couldn't say anything. It's not my place to say anything. But I was really uncomfortable in the conversations when they were talking about their sponsorships and who manages the Instagram account and how much it costs to get over here. And I had the conversation a number of times. There were kids being homeschooled to do jiu-jitsu. So not in education. Now, listen, if you want to homeschool your kid, that's your own business. But being homeschooled so that they could do jiu-jitsu. It's really hard. What's the end game? What's the end of this? Because it's not like even like football. Even in football, it's crazy. I'll tell you a quick story about the football one as well. So Germany in particular has dropped, like, I think Hoffenheim were the first to do it. They dropped the idea of academies. They just realised that the juice wasn't worth the squeeze for like every 700. I think it was like 1 in 700, something like that. Don't quote me on those figures. Something like 1 in 700 went on to have a career in the top division in football. And it's the same over in the UK. So they're actually reconsidering the notion of academy level football. So for like under 8s, under 9s, where they were signing kids at 7 years of age to contracts. So they're reconsidering that because they realise that the juice isn't worth the squeeze. For every kid that they're bringing in there, it turns out for every 700 kids they're bringing into these academy programs, the quit rate is huge. The rate at which they go on to have professional careers is extraordinarily low, like ridiculously low, based upon the education that they're giving them. So if you had a kid go in, let's use another example. If you had a kid going into electrician's academy at 7 years of age, right, with 700 other kids, and you said, well, listen, there's only like a 1 in 700 chance here that this kid's going to turn out an electrician. It would be, even if it was a 1 in 50 chance the kid was going to turn out to be an electrician, you'd say, that's ridiculously low. I think I'll take my chances and get him an apprenticeship when he's 16 or 17. It's crazy. It's crazy. I think there's some sort of very unusual mass hysteria going on with regards to that. I can't understand it. I don't think it has any benefit. I think it only has detriments for the kid. Yeah, there will be some kids who are going to go on and have professional careers. And of course, people will look at those people and say, hey, but see that guy over there, John Smith, he went on, he became a world champion. And his parents had him in front of the Instagram cameras his whole life, recording his training and making videos and stuff. So what about him? Yeah, but it's him, plus nobody will ever see the kids who didn't make it. They'll be just completely forgotten about. I don't know. I think it's really weird. I think it impacts on the child's right to privacy. I think it generates this kind of race to the bottom. This sort of mutually assured destruction that if other parents looking and going, oh my God, he's got an Instagram account for his kid. I better make one for my daughter. And do you not have an Instagram account for your daughter? Oh, it's great because we got like a free gi last year off these guys. And crazy to me. Nuts, absolutely nuts. And I think what we spoke about earlier, I think we need to think about the majority rather than the minority who will do that, rather than focusing so much on that. But yeah, to me, look, you've asked the question. I think you knew what my answer was going to be, and I hope I didn't disappoint. But yeah, it's absolutely nuts in my opinion. But look, each to their own. They're not my kids, I guess. But I would really, really discourage it. And I would discourage anybody from joining that race, Okay, that's it. Listen, thank you very much for watching today. Once again, a reminder to like and subscribe and do all of your necessary functions that you have now as a watcher or a listener to this podcast. You can find us on Spotify, you can find us on YouTube, and you'll find us on Instagram at Kyuzo Jiu-Jitsu. For myself, it's at GrapplerMan. You can also go to kyuzo.ie. If you have any questions, info@kyuzo.ie or barry@kyuzo.ie gets me. I'm always interested to hear your feedback. I always want to know. I always love chatting jiu-jitsu, and I love chatting coaching, and kids coaching in particular is it's a huge passion of mine. It's an area that I'm always interested in knowing more about, and I'm always constantly and consistently studying and thinking about how I can improve it. So if you do have any questions, please feel free to reach out, and I'll be glad to talk to you. Other than that, thanks very much for watching once again. This has been the Kyuzo Jiu-Jitsu Podcast, and we'll catch you soon.